Okay, welcome to this webinar training on time management. My name is Jessica Bieber. I am a Platinum Wellness Advocate with doTERRA, and I'm going to spend the next half hour to 45 minutes sharing with you some tips and tricks that I have learned and implemented, I would say in the last 4 to 6 months about time management. And I know that doesn't sound like a long period of time to be teaching on something that I've learned about, but when I begin to show you these things and you really comprehend that over the course of 4 to 6 months how much time that is as we break this down, I think you're going to have a better understanding of how life-changing this has been for me. So this is my family. We have 8 children. Our oldest will be 14 in a couple of months, and our youngest is 4. We are a homeschooling family. We are very involved in our church. We're involved with volunteer activities. I run my doTERRA business, and my husband works full-time. So, and all of our children are involved in extracurricular activities. We allow them all to choose one activity that they would like to be a part of, and then that is their thing until that activity ends. So we have a busy calendar, as I'm sure everybody does. The thing about time management that we're going to really talk about is that everybody is busy. And so it's not that I am more busy than anybody else. It's just that I choose to budget my time in a way that is most beneficial for my family, and that's what I hope to teach you to do tonight. All right, so who feels this way, right? Not sure if I actually have free time or if I'm just forgetting everything. Do you panic a little bit when you feel like you have free time? Sometimes I do. What about this one? The key to time management is strict and disciplined adherence to a rigid schedule while remaining flexible enough to let anything happen at any time. This is always how I felt about schedules and time management. It's rigid and strict, and I am a free spirit at heart. I want to go with the flow. I want to be flexible. I want to enjoy smelling the roses or whatever it is that people who are free spirits smell. The original concept of time management kind of makes me want to dry heave a little bit because I do not like schedules and rigidity at all. This is sort of how I feel about time management. Why can't you manage yourself? Time, right? It can do that. Wrong. Time cannot manage itself. I love this quote by Henry Ford. You can't build a reputation on what you're going to do. You also can't build a business. You also can't build a family. I want this to be all-encompassing. Yes, this is focused on my doTERRA business, but it has also been pretty revolutionary for my family as well. Like I said, my husband is very analytical, structured. He's great at planning. That is not my gifting. I love to just take each day as it comes, and I can do that within the boundaries of my schedule that I have created. Also like this quote by Aristotle, we are what we repeatedly do. Excellence then is not an act, but a habit. When we create healthy time management habits, our days are more productive and filled with purpose, and our time is spent in meaningful conversations and interactions with people, both at work, at home, and at play. And we want those interactions with people to be very meaningful. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to stop thinking about our goals and our achievements that need to be reached within the year. And we're going to start to set goals and achievement points that need to be reached in 12-week increments. So now when I say I've been implementing this for 6 months, you understand that that has more of a profound impact than me saying I've been doing this for years. Because if I'm breaking my year into 12-week increments, you can see that I've had more time to implement these things. Annual goals are really hard and abstract to achieve. The goals I set for December in January are hard to break down into daily habits and implementations from the beginning of the year. That's why I'm not a fan of New Year's resolutions. So let's ditch the annual goals and begin creating new year goals in 12-week increments. Why do we push so hard the last week of the month? If you are in sales, why do you push so hard the last week of the month? It's because we know that we are on limited time, and we push because we can see that the result is right in front of us. We can see the results glaring at us in the face, and we cannot help but push to achieve those goals. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to reframe our goals and make when 12 weeks equals 1 year. We're going to reframe this concept of time and what we really need to accomplish and break it down into smaller tasks. So you're going to have to bear with me here, okay? I read a book once that said we manifest the time that we need. And I think that's hogwash. I think we all have the same amount of time. You can't make up new time. But I do see that when you reframe your time, that is a huge advantage, especially when you begin talking about goals, accomplishments, and tasks. And it does make it feel like you have more time. It makes it feel like you've manifested extra time, that you actually haven't. It creates a new in-game date for you to assess your success or the lack thereof. So you can see, was I successful in what I wanted to do, or was I not? And it kind of gives you either the kick in the pants you need or the pat on the back that you need. When you have a 12-week year, the deadline is always near enough that you never lose sight of it, right? So if, say, a bride is getting married and she wants to lose 20 pounds before her wedding, if the wedding is 2 years from now, do you think that she's going to begin now? If the wedding is in October and it is the previous September, do you think that she's going to begin planning now? But when the deadline is near enough, she begins to kick it into overdrive. She may begin working out more, or really sticking to a healthy eating plan, not dieting, sticking to a healthy eating plan. What about planning the wedding in general? If someone gets engaged and they plan the wedding for a year and a half later, there are some things you can do in the beginning, but you really don't begin to feel that push and urgency until it is just a few months before the date of the wedding. And when 12 weeks is a year, it provides a time horizon that is long enough to get things done, yet short enough to create a sense of urgency and bias for action. I will admit that I work the best under pressure. That is my personality, and that is how I'm wired. I know that there are some people, like my husband, who begin packing for a trip 2 weeks out, but not me. I pack the night before and I get it all done in an hour. That's just who I am. Neither way is right or wrong, but knowing that I have a short time frame motivates me to get that task done. It creates the urgency that I need so that I know that I can accomplish what I need to accomplish before my flight leaves the next morning. One thing that I love about the 12-week year is it always gives me that sense of urgency. That is how I operate. And for a long time, I was really resentful that that's how I worked best. But what I realized was, if that is how I work best, why not give myself an environment where I can thrive instead of an environment where I constantly beat myself up? It's human nature that we behave differently when a deadline approaches. Hello, tax season. Doesn't everybody behave a little differently when the tax deadline comes? Or midterm papers. I know in college I would wait until the last minute to write those papers. Whatever it is that pushes you to change your behavior, you need to implement that so that you feel that urgency whenever it comes to talking about your goals, your accomplishments, and your deadlines. It also forces you to confront your lack of execution. You realize, if I don't do X now, then Y won't happen later. It's like that planning for the wedding or preparing for your tax documents. You realize, if I don't do this now, then later it's not going to happen. And so you have to confront that when you only have a 12-week year. If you've had a bad 12-week year, I love this. You can just shake it off, regroup, and start again. I love the idea that if I plan out a 12-week plan and it goes really poorly, I can regroup, refocus, and shake it off. The entire year isn't wasted. And honestly, chances are I got more accomplished than I would have if I had not planned a 12-week year. All right, so here are 2 key points. My husband, his Strength Finder's strengths are discipline and consistency are definitely in his top 10. And those are my bottom 2 on the Strength Finder's inventory. So if those are not your strengths, yay, it's going to be okay if they aren't. They are not mine, and this has revolutionized the way that I spend my time. In fact, it's going to be better than okay, because you're going to be amazed at how much you get accomplished, even if your execution isn't perfect. All right, so first thing you need to do is you need to cast a vision, not the vision, a vision. When it comes to your businesses, when it comes to your life and your family, I want you to be able to utilize this time management across every facet of your life. So I'm going to talk specifically about businesses, but I really want you to stop and think about every nook and cranny of your life. And I want you to understand that you are not responsible for motivating your team. The very best you can do is cast a vision, not the vision, just a common vision, and inspire these people to achieve their own greatness. If you don't run a team, think about your family. What is the end goal for your family to accomplish? What vision do you have for your family? How do you want them to accomplish that? So for example, with my family, I have eight children. When I want the house cleaned because someone's coming over for dinner, now I can clean it in the morning, but it will not stay that way all day. So we usually do a cleanup about an hour before somebody shows up to our house if it's planned. And so if I need the house cleaned because someone is coming over for dinner, I set a timer for 15 minutes and I challenge my kids to work together to get it all done in that 15-minute time frame. If they do, then maybe we'll have ice cream after dinner. So I'm casting the vision of ice cream, but the drive for them is internal. The drive is in their stomach, right? It's very internal. And they realize that if they want to get the reward, if they want to get the end game accomplishment, they have to work together. So I'm going to cast that vision for my team. I'm going to cast that vision for my family. And then we're going to all work together for a common goal. Vision is the starting point of all high performance. So what vision do you want to create for yourself, for your family, and for your team? I don't want my team's success for me alone. I want my team to be successful because I know their hopes and dreams, and I want to see them succeed. My hope is that I can cast a vision that they can understand, and it will inspire them into action. I love this quote so much. Behind every impossible achievement is a dreamer of impossible dreams. That's by Robert Greenleaf. I am a dreamer. I've been a dreamer my entire life. For a long time, I believed that to be successful, I needed to change everything about myself. I needed to be more analytical. I needed to be less dreamy. I needed to be really more by the book, you know? And I look at the people around me that are good at those things, and I would compare myself to them and think, I need to be more like that, because that is what a successful person looks like. And really, that's just not true. Dreamers were meant to dream just as much as developers were meant to develop and believers were meant to pray. Being a dreamer does not eliminate me from the realm of success. I just need to know how to harness my dreams and how to execute them. And by the way, Robert Greenleaf, who is this? He was born in 1904. And he is noted as being the father of the servant leadership movement. So yeah, you can be a dreamer and a servant leader, and I love that. All right, I love this quote. I'm going to come back to it at the end, but I just want you guys to understand that we have one shot at this life. And my prayer for my team, for my children, for my family, is that they will be inspired to chase hard after the dreams that God has placed within their hearts. And I hope that they do that. And I hope that I teach them how to plan for that too. Okay, so let's make a plan that's worth sticking to. So this is where we're going to slow down a little bit and really get to the nuts and bolts of what does it look like to plan. So if you ever made a plan and then 2 weeks later you can't even find the paper that you wrote it on, that would be me. It was probably not a plan that you planned well, or you didn't make a step-by-step plan to achieve your goals at the end. Or the plan felt super overwhelming, so you ditched it after the first day. Listen, I have been buying planners for years, and I will buy one every January, and I will tell myself that I'm going to be a planner. I'm going to put this stuff in the planner. I'm going to follow the plan. And usually around the second week in February, I cannot find my planner. I have no idea where it's at because I haven't used it in like 4 weeks. And that is not what I want for you to do with this information I'm going to give you tonight. what I want you to do with this information is I want you to really break it down, and we're going to go through a step-by-step process on how to pull your planner out, how to look at what you're going to put into it, and how to make it not feel overwhelming. Okay. Let's see. Working from a plan has 3 distinct benefits. It reduces mistakes, it saves time, and it provides focus. All right, so it reduces mistakes because when you put your plan on paper, you can correct any of the mistakes in the planning stages. When you see what you are able to do in the limited time you have, you're actually going to accomplish more than you could have previously. So that's how it saves you time. And it provides focus by allowing you to think through in advance the best approach to achieving your goals. You make your mistakes on paper, which reduces the miscues and mistakes during implementation. So writing it down is crucial. A vision without a plan is a pipe dream. So I'm a dreamer. I'm a notorious dreamer. In fact, I'm such a dreamer that I listened to a podcast a while back. I think it was a podcast. It might have been a book on Audible. But I love podcasts and I love Audible. I listen to them in the car as I'm driving the kids to their activities. And one of the things that they said in whatever I was listening to, there were two types of people in the marriage, and one was the dreamer and one was the planner. And the dreamer was talking about how every time they came home and presented the dream to their spouse, the spouse would begin asking questions about it, and it would feel defeating to the dreamer. And really what the planner was just trying to do was to get a better understanding of what the dreamer had in mind and how it was going to be accomplished. But for the dreamer, it felt like they were squashing all of their hopes and dreams. And my husband is very much a planner, and I'm very much a dreamer. And so the rule was that the planner could not respond to the dreamer's dream for 24 hours. And because there were 2 things that would happen. If the dreamer was still talking about it after 24 hours, they were actually considering it. Or within 24 hours, they would have forgotten what that dream was and had moved on to another one. And that's very much me. And so my husband and I have implemented that, and it has saved a lot of hurt feelings. So if you're a dreamer and your spouse or someone close to you is a planner, you may want to implement that. But as a dreamer, you need to understand that a vision without a plan is a pipe dream. And that was something that I had to really think through. If we're going to do this, if we're going to make this happen, we've got to put it on paper. All right, so the nuts and bolts. If 12 weeks equals a year, then a month is equivalent to 1 week, and 1 week is equivalent to 1 day. So you're going to get as much accomplished in 1 day as you normally would in a week when you implement these phases, okay? You have greater control over your actions than you do your results. And let's face it, we have really very little control over what results from our actions. We can have the best intentions and give someone the greatest gift, but we cannot control their happiness upon them opening it, can we? We cannot control results. We can only control our actions. So let's set our goals. Let's push for our dreams, but let's plan our actions. And here's how we do that. We plan 1 week at a time. This was so freeing for me. This was like someone just saying, yes, it's okay to only plan 1 week at a time, because I thought, oh, well, planners, they plan out the next 3 or 4 months and they have everything and all their ducks in a row. And I'm super good friends with a very seasoned veteran homeschool mom, and she would sit down over the summer and she would plan in her planner her entire year of homeschooling, the whole year for both of her children. And I tried to do that, and it made me feel so overwhelmed. Now, for her, it worked beautifully. For me, it did not. So if you're someone who wants to plan 2 weeks at a time, that's fine. But I would suggest you need to master planning out 1 week at a time, only 1 week at a time. And you need to understand that successful completion of 85% of the activities in your weekly plan means that you will most likely achieve your objectives. So here's the catch, folks. We are not aiming for perfection. We are aiming for better than yesterday. That's what we're aiming for. So as Master Yoda says, prioritize, you must. You didn't know you were also going to get voice interpretations with this training, did you? All right. This is really crucial. Living with clear intention goes against the powerful natural tendency to be reactive because it requires you to organize your life around your priorities and consciously choose those activities that align with your goals and visions. Okay. So I tell my older kids this a lot. I tell them that they need to know their boundaries when it comes to what they will listen to, who they will date, what they're going to do on that date, and how they're going to respond when they're in a situation that they don't want to be in. They have to decide up front, what are their priorities? Waiting until they're in the moment to figure out what they want to do will end up costing them more than they want. And it's the same with our goals and our visions. We cannot be reactive. We must decide in advance what we want, what we're willing to sacrifice to get it, and organize our life around our priorities and choose which activities make the cut. This is so crucial because what's going to happen as you are planning out your days and your weeks is you're going to have a plan in place, and then someone's going to approach you with something that sounds incredible. I mean, just so incredible. And you're going to look at your calendar and you're going to go, well, if I do that, I'm going to have to not do this. And if the thing you're going to have to cut out is a priority, it will be easier to make that choice if you've already determined what you're willing to sacrifice. You cannot be reactive. You must already have your priorities chosen and organize your life around those. And what of these activities are really going to help you reach your goals and your vision? Intentionality is your secret weapon in your war on mediocrity. I don't know anybody that's like, absolutely, I want to be mediocre. Like, I don't want to be great. I just want to be mediocre. And if your goal is to wage war against mediocrity, then you must be intentional, like we were just talking about. This is a great quote as well. Can you tell I like good quotes? It's not enough to be busy, so are the ants. The question is, what are we busy about? Honestly, it kind of makes my skin crawl when I ask someone how they are and they say, I'm busy. No, you're not busy. You're either good or bad or happy or sad or, cheerful or apathetic, but busy is not, it's not a feeling. Busy is a thing. And I have caught myself so many times saying this too, and I just want to smack myself because I'm choosing busyness. And if I'm doing the things that I love, then busy will never be my response when someone asks me how I am. Because when you're doing the things that you love, it doesn't feel like you're busy. Okay. So this is key for me too when I started thinking about time management. We cannot eliminate unplanned interruptions, but we can block out regular time each week dedicated to strategically important tasks. So things are going to come up. Let's figure out how to plan for them. So this is where you need to have your pen ready. If you haven't already been taking notes, this is where you're going to want to start. What is time blocking? Okay. Time blocking is being intentional with your time. It is taking the time that you have, the activities that are a priority to you, and putting those into your calendar in strategic order. Okay? And we're going to walk through what that looks like. So the first thing you're going to put in your planner, or that you're going to write out on your blank piece of paper, are your non-negotiable tasks. Okay? And I'm going to list off our non-negotiable tasks. Okay? Work for my husband is non-negotiable. He must go to work so we can have money to pay for food and, our mortgage and all of the things that he goes to work for. School, homeschooling our children, that's non-negotiable for me. We have to do school. And even if we weren't homeschooling, our children would have to attend school. That's non-negotiable. Church is non-negotiable for us. So that goes into our planner. Now the next ones are going to be personal to me, and I want you to write down any tasks that you deem are non-negotiable. For us, dinner 3 nights a week. If our calendar allows 3 nights a week of dinner, we will have dinner together 3 nights a week as a family, because that is important to me. I love what happens around the dinner table. Now, there are certainly weeks that this can't happen because we have ball games that get rescheduled. I think 2 weeks ago, we had so much rain that my son had a baseball game rescheduled, and that we had a game every night that week. So I have to be flexible enough to understand that there are going to be weeks like that. But as a general rule, we will have dinner together as a family 3 nights a week. That doesn't mean it has to be at home. That doesn't mean we can't be eating breakfast for dinner. It just means we would need to eat together as a family 3 nights a week. Sleeping and specific bedtime schedules. This is important in our family. Our children must be in bed by a certain time if we're home for that night. That way, my husband and I can spend some time together, or I can work or read or spend time with just one kid. That's very important to us. So if you're someone who needs, 8 hours of sleep, then you need to make sure you put that into your calendar. I know that sounds silly, but you've got to schedule these things. And for us, date night is a must in our house. We try to go on a date night every other week. So that's very important to us. So that gets put into our calendar before other things. Okay, so what are regularly scheduled tasks in your house? Now, you've done your non-negotiable list. It may have more or fewer things on it than mine. And now we're going to talk about scheduled tasks. These are things that are, coming up that are not always on the same day or time. So for our children, that includes practices and rehearsals. We have a theater kid, we have sports kids, we have kids that take classes like karate, kids that go to the barn to ride horses. So all of those are our scheduled tasks, and I put those in my calendar. For you, maybe it's exercise. I have mentor calls. Those are scheduled tasks that I'm going to set a time to talk to someone. Maybe you have volunteer work that is scheduled for you. Every Tuesday and Thursday you volunteer at this place. And then for us, chiropractic appointments, those are scheduled. A little plug for my chiropractor here. We see her every other week at the same time. So those go immediately into my calendar. So those are all things. Maybe you have regularly occurring therapy appointments. We have a kid who takes speech therapy, so that's reoccurring every single week, and so that's going to go into my calendar. So when you plug all those things in, I want you to look here. This is my actual calendar from the end of April, 1st of May. And this is what it looked like for me. You can see on the left-hand side, we had our homeschool group, from 11 to 3. And then we had a chiropractor appointment after that. And then I had already put in a scheduled Facebook Live because that was reoccurring for me every Monday in April. I was doing a training for my team. And then on Tuesday, we had school from 8 to 1:30, and then we had karate. And then on Wednesday, we had school from 8 to 2. My son had a baseball game, and then I had mentoring. On Thursday, we had school from 8 to 2. My daughter had band practice, and my son had a baseball game. Then on Friday, we had school. My daughter had speech. On Saturday, I worked a vendor event. And then on Sunday, my daughter had a recital. And then my son had both team pictures and team practice. Now, this is my actual calendar. I didn't make any of this up to make this look pretty. And you can see there are a lot of blank spaces on my planner because I am learning. This is not something I expect you to go buy a planner and fill in every nook and cranny on the planner, okay? You see at the top, this is a planner that's geared around Bible study time. So there's a place for a memory verse. I haven't plugged that in yet because I'm not to the point yet where I am sufficient enough and comfortable enough with all of the planning that I can add in the extras. There's a thing down here for the meal planning at the bottom of all the time slots. I don't fill that in. Now, I do actually fill in the daily to-do notes. Since this was planned a week out, I hadn't gotten to that point yet. So this is my actual calendar, okay? All right, now we're going to talk about how to start plugging in all of the other things that you will need to put on in your calendar. The first thing is your strategic block, okay? This is your time to get stuff done. This is going to be 3 hours once a week. You must have no distractions. If you can't do a 3-hour block once a week, then you can do 2 1.5-hour blocks. But again, no distractions. You're going to turn off all notifications and calls. If I'm working on something that doesn't require internet, I actually turn off the internet to my computer, so I cannot physically get notifications. You're also going to focus on pre-planned tasks. So for me and my doTERRA business, this looks like strategic planning. Is there some planning that I need to do for my team? It's going to look like income generating activity, which is not checking Facebook. I'm going to focus both on my quantity and the quality of my work. So this is how it breaks down for me, okay? This is what I use. Where'd it go? Oh, I went too far. Okay. This is what it looks like for me. I brainstorm events and tasks that will increase the volume on my team. I complete my monthly plan and my rank builder worksheets, and then anything else that comes up that isn't urgent. All right. I'm going to prepare. So we have specific things on our team that we offer if you are a member. I will prepare and invite people to oil camp. I'll plan my daily contacts and follow-ups for the next week. I will plan my Facebook posts, but I will not be on Facebook. I will make any graphics or memes that I need. I will create any videos or presentations that I need. I will prepare for upcoming classes and events. All of these are things that I will do in this 3-hour chunk of time. If you're using this method for time blocking for your family, you might use this time to schedule appointments. So if you need to schedule appointments for your family, dental appointments, haircuts, whatever your family has appointments for, you may want to do that. Make phone calls about things that are going to take longer than a 5-minute phone call. This is where you'll also do meal planning. Make your grocery and shopping lists. Make a list of people you need to contact throughout the week. If you know it's just going to be a quick phone call you could do in the car, go ahead and make that list and put it into your planner. So this is all things that you cannot do on the fly. So I cannot physically do any of these things on the fly. I have to have dedicated time devoted to sitting down at my computer or with my planner and pencil in when I'm going to accomplish all of these other things, or things that are going to take time that I cannot be distracted for. All right, so after your strategic block, then you're going to have what's called a buffer block. This is designed to deal with all of the unplanned and low value activities. So let's say halfway through the week, you realize that you need to schedule a time to talk to someone about an issue that's going to take longer than 10 minutes. If it's not urgent, then I will wait and put that in my strategic block for the following week. I try not to do phone calls during my strategic block because I find that I can get sidetracked. I try to reserve those for another time. But if it is someone I can only talk to during business hours, like a doctor or a therapist, or I need to straighten something out with insurance, I might try to squeeze that into my strategic block if I have time. And that's for family tasks. Now, when I'm talking about my business, I do not talk on the phone during my strategic block at all. All right, buffer block. This is going to be all of the unplanned and low value activities. So this is going to be things that are not urgent. And this is what this is how I use mine. 30 minutes in length, once a day. So for my team, the size of my team, I have to do once in the morning and once in the evening. 30 minutes in the morning, 30 minutes in the evening. This is what this looks like for me. I reply to Facebook messages, I reply to emails, I reply to text messages, and I return voicemails. These are not things that I need to dedicate a ton of time to. These should be quick responses, right? Things that you can accomplish, several of them within a 30-minute time block. We tend to make these things priority, but these are unproductive and things. They do not help grow your business. They do not help add a ton of value to your life. Now, they're necessary, but they're not priority items. And this is where people get bogged down, okay? They say, I'm just going to reply to this text message really quickly. And then you see 4 or 5 other text messages that you haven't replied to. So you start all of these, and then you look up and it's been 45 minutes and all you've been doing is answering these 2 or 3 people in these text messages. And then when you were supposed to be, writing content for your next blog post or creating a video for your team, or something along those lines that you really needed secluded time for. So we move all of those things to the buffer block, because honestly, I can reply to text messages from the toilet. Okay. I'm not able to see. I see there's a text coming in, but I'm not able to see. So Tracy, if it's something urgent, you're going to have to text it to me. Okay. Because you've already identified your priorities and put them in your schedule first, you can release a scarcity mindset, be present with your family and friends, and better identify what is urgent versus what is just necessary. Okay, this is what I want you guys to understand by time blocking. Scarcity mindset is that there aren't enough people and there isn't enough time. If I don't reply to this now, they will never want oils again until Jesus comes back. And then they won't even need oils. So that's not true, all right? People will respect your time if you do. So if you are present with your family and your friends, then you will value your time, and so will other people. And let's keep in mind, you're doing this for your family, not in spite of them, okay? If these things are not urgent, they can wait. All right, now here's the real kicker, okay? Breakout block. Entrepreneurs are motivated and driven people. We've all heard the phrase, all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy, right? Too much work kills your energy and enthusiasm. When we don't take time off work, we can lose our creative edge, and we do not want to do that. As entrepreneurs, we cannot lose our creative edge. And yes, I'm talking to you, whatever your name is. I'm talking to you. You are the most important asset to your organization. I'm going to tell you a little story. I used to volunteer with a nonprofit, probably about 10 years ago or so. It was a beautiful nonprofit that served women and children in our community. And the leader of it was someone I came to know very dearly while I was nursing my first 3 children. She's a beautiful person. I love being around her. I'm just drawn to her. She's one of those people that has like a magnetic personality, and people just enjoy being around her. She was the reason I volunteered with this organization. My love and my desire to help her was the reason I volunteered. But the problem was she spent all of her time executing and none of her time focused on herself. And she got burnout. And the organization crumbled a little bit. I think it accomplished some really great things while it was in existence, but it did fall apart. And she one day sat with us and pleaded for us to go find more volunteers. And it occurred to me several years later that we were not the ones that could recruit more volunteers, because we were not the reason that people were drawn to the organization. She was. And the same is true for your organization. You are the most important asset to your organization. People are going to be drawn to you. So if you don't take care of yourself, you're going to get burnout and it's going to crumble. And that's true for your families as well. All right, a minimum of 1 hour, but up to 3 hours per week. The focus is to refocus and reinvigorate your mind. When you return to work, you'll be more focused and energized. So for your breakout block, you need to think of things that give you life. What gives you life? So for me, this is the list of things that give me life, okay? Getting a pedicure, date night, which I know I said was also a priority, but this is why it's a priority, because it gives me life to be out on a date with my husband alone and to eat hot food and not have to cut up somebody else's food. That gives me life. A massage. So I try to get a massage every 2 weeks, at the very least once a month. And for a long time, I thought, that is so selfish. But I realized it was crucial for my health. Like it helps me not feel anxious. It helps me relax, and it gives me life. It doesn't have to be expensive. A bath. You know, I am going to go sit in the bathtub. Do not disturb me. Maybe it's going on a hike with or without your family. Whatever gives you life, you need to write down 3 things that give you life minimum. And that's what you're going to do during your breakout block. Remember, 1 hour to 3 hours once a week. Because you don't want this to be you. You don't want it to be, look at all the fun I cannot have, right? Nobody will want to be around you. Nobody will be drawn to your business, drawn to your organization, or drawn to your lifestyle if you don't have any fun. All right, so we are running out of time, so I'm going to give you a real quick overview. Write down 3 things that you find relaxing and rejuvenating. And don't forget, don't get so busy making a living, don't get so busy making a living that you forget to make a life. All right, so after I have added everything to my calendar, this is what it looks like at the end of my planning, okay? So I have over here, I've added a buffer block in the morning, every morning. And then while my kids were at their co-op, I would use that 3 hours for my strategic block. And then we would have a chiropractor appointment, and then I would have 2 appointments that I could schedule people into a Facebook Live, and then the buffer block at the end of the day. And then I would start to fill in my daily to-do notes. And you can just see where I started to fill these things in. Date night took priority over here on Friday night. I set appointments in the afternoon on Saturday. And you can see I'm just starting to fill in my calendar. This is my actual calendar. This is not the pie in the sky. So here are some things to remember, okay? You have to schedule time for driving. I know that sounds so silly, but I would not schedule time for driving, and I was overbooking myself, and I was too packed to enjoy what was right in front of me. I was always yelling at my kids to get ready and get in the car. I was always trying to squeeze people in, and no one felt valued or heard. I remember having an appointment with someone. They came over to talk to me about oils, and I invited them over, and I realized after I invited them and they were on their way that I needed to leave 10 minutes after they arrived so that I could be at my next thing. I didn't factor in drive time. And I felt horrible because it was like, oh, hi, how are you? Okay, let's talk about this. Okay, goodbye. And I know there's no way that they felt like they were valued at all. And then I'm yelling at my kids to get in the car, and I'm yelling at them to buckle up, and I'm yelling at them to be quiet because I've got to drive and I got to pay attention, and I'm already stressed. And so every little peep they make, and that is not how I want to live my life, and that is not how I want my children to live their life, and that is not how I want people around me to feel, because they do not feel heard and they do not feel valued. All right, here's some tips to remember, okay? If you can't fit all the things you want to do on paper, then you cannot get them done in reality. So if you need to pencil in drive time, pencil it in. Planning your week will cause you to make some hard choices about how you use your time. Remember, when you write down the things that are important to you and you begin to put those into your calendar, if something overlaps with something that's crucial to you, you will need to eliminate some things, and that will be hard. Just gaining control over a few hours each week has a dramatic effect. Dramatic. In the end, you will be more effective, feel less stressed, and feel a greater sense of control. And you will grow increasingly confident in planning your calendar. And you will become increasingly confident in saying no to things that are not priority in your life. And that is the most amazing level of freedom that I have ever had. No, I cannot do this. I'm sorry. All right. If this has been too brief and you want to know more, I suggest you hop over to Amazon right now. I do not get paid to tell people to buy this book, but the 12-week year is where pretty much this entire presentation has come from. So in an effort not to get thrown into plagiarism jail, I'm going to tell you that everything in this presentation came straight from the 12-week year. So jump over to Amazon right now as soon as this webinar is over and order it and read it cover to cover, because it will change your life. And again, we're coming back to this quote, because we have one life, guys. We have one shot at making this life as beautiful and joyful and lovely as God intended it to be. So how will you use your life? Will it be spent tired, frazzled, and filled with anxiety and stress? Or will you learn to say no to the things that aren't crucial and embrace what's important and necessary and enjoy this life that God has given you? So tell me, what is it you plan to do with your one wild and precious life? Thanks for listening.